All right, I think we are recording. Great. Good morning, everyone. We are going to start out in a reclined position this morning. If you would like to take that reclined position, please go ahead and do so. Otherwise, if you prefer, you can always come seated. That's not a problem at all. And just take a few moments here, settling in. Allowing the body to be heavy on the mat. Feeling the support of the ground underneath you. And perhaps allowing a bit of letting go to occur in the body. I've been working lately with this technique called RAIN. And RAIN is recognize, allow, investigate, and nurture. And so starting out, this is something that is nice because you can use it anywhere that you feel stress or strain or just want to check in with yourself. So starting out, recognizing any emotions, any tension, any discomfort. And then allowing that to be just as it is. No need to push it away or change it. And investigating a bit. Be going just a step deeper. And then perhaps allowing yourself to nurture yourself. Sometimes just putting a hand on the heart, offering some tenderness. Sometimes putting a hand or two on the face. Any type of nurturing that you can offer to yourself here. Some tenderness for anything that is difficult, hurting, a little uncomfortable, whatever it might be. Taking another moment or two with that and just knowing that that is something that you can come back to anytime. Here we're going to start to add some movement to our practice, starting out with some stretches for the back, starting out nice and gentle. So hands can come to the kneecaps. And as you exhale, hug the knees in while keeping the back body connected to the mat, so the low back stays connected. And then as you inhale, straightening the elbows and just pushing the knees just that little bit away. And exhale, pull back in. So it's a small movement, starting out nice and easy. Inhaling, pushing the knees away gently, straightening the elbows, and exhaling, pulling back in. Keeping the shoulder blades connected to the mat, keeping the range of motion nice and subtle. Continuing to recognize, allow, investigate, and nurture. The next time the knees are hugged in towards the chest, take a few circles, opening up the legs, stirring the hips, and then reversing direction of that circle. And the next time the knees are open, take a few ankle circles, holding the knees gently open, circling the ankles in one direction and then the other, maybe flexing and pointing a bit, making the movement your own. And then releasing the knees, extending the legs and extending the arms, taking a full body stretch, keeping the shoulder blades pretty well planted. Reaching the fingertips, reaching the toes, maybe taking some circles with the ankles, perhaps spreading the toes and spreading the fingers and then clenching them back in. Again, kind of exploring the movement and making it your own. From here, walking the feet out towards the left and then walking the arms out towards the left. You may even want to take the left hand to the right wrist and give just a little bit of a tug, getting a side body stretch. If that feels bad in the shoulders, you could lower the arms a little bit. You can change the range of motion, decreasing it or increasing it depending on what's right for you. Feeling that stretch through the right side of the body. And then coming back to center and walking the arms and the legs over towards the right. If you want to take the left wrist and the right hand, giving a little tug, you can. If it feels better to keep the arms more separated, that might feel nicer on the shoulders. Kind of explore what's best for you there, getting a side body stretch. And then walking everything back to neutral, we're going to take the backs of the thighs with the hands and come into a modified happy baby pose. So knees are a little bit wider than chest width, kind of coming down towards the underarms a bit. Soles of the feet are up towards the sky. If you want more, you can grab a hold of the soles of the feet, maybe rock back and forth a little bit if that feels like it's creating strain or tension in the upper body. Bring the hands back to the backs of the thighs, decreasing the range of motion just a little bit so it feels accessible for wherever your body is. Again, that nurturing where we are, offering ourselves our own nurturing. And if you want to here, you can play around with extending one leg in any amount, extending the other. They don't have to be fully extended. Be pausing on one side for a little while, or maybe going back and forth side to side. Spending a little more time with this, exploring the movement. Perhaps keeping the eyes closed so that the focus can be on the internal rather than the external. And then from here, extending the right leg, we'll hug the left knee in towards the chest. Maybe taking ankle circles or maybe finding stillness. And if it tugs on the shoulders or the low back, definitely feel free to have a bend in the right leg for a little more support in the back. Taking a few breaths here, hugging that knee in. And then we'll keep the left hand on the left knee, but slide the right hand down just a little bit so it's kind of towards the inner ankle. And then we'll elevate that right leg up off of the mat. You could also elevate your head and shoulders up off of the mat. We're going to work the core, warm up the core a bit here. Switching sides, extending the left leg. Now, extending doesn't mean it has to be perfectly straight. You can keep a bend in it in any amount. You can have it a little bit more up towards the ceiling or a little bit more parallel towards the floor, depending on the range of motion that's right for you. And then just continuing to go from side to side, trying to stay pretty steady in the upper body. If at any point the low back starts to hurt or the neck starts to hurt, feel free to lower the upper body down onto the mat, or feel free to take a pause. Taking this another time or two. And then releasing from that. And just pausing here, perhaps rocking side to side a little bit. Hands can be on the knees or the shins. We'll make our way up to a seated position now. So sitting up nice and tall, finding that length through the spine, perhaps just a little bobble of the head, letting go of the neck, the jaw, perhaps closing the eyes or keeping the eyes open. We'll inhale, reach the arms up here. As you exhale, you can take left hand to the right knee, right hand behind for a twist. Not taking it too far, we'll inhale back to center and exhale, switch sides. Going from side to side for a few rounds of breath. Inhaling center and exhaling to twist. And once you're back at center, let's switch the foot that's in front. And then once again, this might feel a little more awkward. Inhaling center, exhaling twist. Taking that non-habitual leg in front can feel a bit awkward, but it's a nice thing to practice from time to time just to keep the body balanced. And then let's all pause with the right hand on the left knee, left hand behind, and take that twist just a little bit further in the range of motion, pausing here for a few breaths, rooting down actively through the sits bones, through the hips, creating length and space between the pelvis and the rib cage. The crown of the head reaches up towards the ceiling. Collarbone and chest are nice and broad. And then inhale back through center and exhale, come over to that opposite side. Again, establishing the length through the crown of the head and the sense of rooting down through the feet, the hips, the pelvis. Taking a few breaths here. And then coming back to center, you can switch the legs again. And here we're going to begin to walk the hands forward, coming into a just a seated forward fold, a stretch for the hips, for the back. And you can add movement here. Sometimes it's nice to be a little loose and add a bit of movement in the beginning of our practice rather than holding the pose. Sometimes it feels nice to hold the pose. So again, just kind of recognizing, allowing, investigating, and nurturing whatever is happening right now. We'll take the hands behind us, fingertips point away, and the heels of the hands can point towards you, lifting the chest, lifting the gaze, perhaps elevating the hips up off of the mat or keeping them planted. Drawing shoulder blades towards one another, expanding through the chest. And then exhaling, coming back through to center. From here, you can stay in that seated position if you'd like to. If it's okay for your knees, we're gonna come to the knees and the shins and kind of come into a little ball, taking the hands to your sides. The palms of the hands can turn up towards the sky. You can rest your forehead on the mat or a block. And then on the next inhalation, dragging the hands all the way up, coming to stand on the knees, reaching the arms up, maybe taking the gaze up, and then articulating the spine back down. So taking that at your own pace. And of course, you can do that with a seat from a seated position or from a standing position. If you don't like this kneeling position. And then the next time you're up, you can stay up. We're going to take our right leg out towards the right for gate pose. Again, you can do this seated, you can do this standing if you don't want to be on the knee. Sliding that right hand down the right leg, we'll reach the left arm up and over, getting a stretch through the left side of the body, pressing the hips gently forward. Breathing here. And then sweeping the hands down, placing hands underneath the shoulders. We'll leave the right hand planted and reach that left arm up towards the sky, getting a stretch through the chest and through the inner thigh on that right side. Neck is long on all sides. And exhale, release down from that. And we'll switch sides, taking that left leg out towards the left now, reaching the right arm up and over. Trying to create a bit of a lift through the left side waist. Gaze can be up or straight forward. And then sweeping those hands down, planting hands under shoulders. Left hand stays planted, and we'll reach that right arm up towards the sky. Just within your range of motion. And exhaling, releasing down from that. And we're going to make our way up to a standing position at the top of the mat. Taking a few shoulder rolls back. And a few shoulder rolls forward, letting go, releasing, maybe swaying a bit from side to side. And coming back to neutral, feet hip width distance apart. Inhaling, reaching the arms up. And exhaling, folding forward. Come into a little chair flow here. So warming up the legs and the back. Inhaling for a halfway lift. So halfway lift, remember, lengthened spine. Weight is a little bit more in the balls of the feet. Taking a breath or two here, long spine. And then taking a pretty significant bend in the knees. And if at any point you want to hold on to a wall or a chair for stability, please feel free to do so. Hands can stay down, or you can reach the arms up straight in front of you. Neck is long, fingertips are long and reaching, keeping that deep bend in the knees. And then on the inhale, stand all the way up, reaching the arms up. And then on the next exhale, coming back into that in the reverse way. So we're taking that kind of chair type pose. It's a little bit different than chair because we're reaching so far forward. Spine is long, knees are bent. And then exhale, fold forward. Legs can come a little bit more straight, but keeping some softness in the knees. Crown of the head is heavy, stretch through the backs of the legs. And then on the next inhalation, take that halfway lift, reach the chest forward. On the next exhalation, bending deeply through the knees, reaching the arms forward if that was right for you. Lengthened spine. And inhale, stand all the way up. On the next exhalation, bending deeply through the knees, reaching fingertips forward, hovering belly and chest over the thighs. And then exhale, fold forward. Release, get that bit of a stretch through the hamstring muscles. Inhale for your halfway lift, lengthen the spine, lengthen the legs. And on the next exhalation, bending deeply through the knees, reach the arms forward and stand all the way back up. We'll do that one final time. Exhaling, coming into that chair type pose, belly and chest hover above the legs. Legs are active, hip width distance. Exhale, fold forward. And then inhale, take your halfway lift, lengthen. Exhale, bend deeply through the knees, reach the arms forward, breathing here, and then stand all the way back up. Release the arms down. We're going to come into a sun salutation, inhaling, reaching the arms up, and exhaling, folding forward. Inhale for your halfway lift, lengthening here. Reaching the outer hips back, creating space through the abdominal area, through the chest. Exhale, folding back in. We're going to step both feet back to plank position. Now you can be on the knees or not. Spreading out the hands, engaging all sides of the hands, heels press back. Neck is long on all sides. Abdominal muscles are engaged, belly pulls in towards the spine. And then from here on the knees or not, lowering all the way down to the mat. We'll inhale up to cobra. Here, rooting down through the pelvis, through the frontal hip points, through the pubic bone, keeping the tailbone reaching back towards the heels. And then exhale, lower down. Inhale, lift back up to cobra, just a small cobra. Arms are close to the rib cage, rooting down through the pelvis, and then we'll lift the legs just a bit, keeping the pelvis neutral. Knees are pretty straight. We're going to open the legs and then draw them back together. Opening and back together, working the outer glutes, the outer legs, inner legs. Taking that a few more times. And then releasing down from that. Your choice, you can stay here for a breath or two, take windshield wiper legs on the belly, press back to child's pose, or press into your first downward facing dog. In downward dog, fingertips are spread wide, and a lot of times there's a tendency, I've talked about this before, but I continue to do it. So there's a tendency to kind of roll the weight into the pinky edges of the hands. See if you can evenly distribute, engaging the thumbs and the pointer finger side of the hand as well. Letting go of the neck, sometimes it's helpful to shake the head no, shake the head yes, releasing there. We're going to step the right foot forward. Now you can pull it forward, grabbing hold of the back of the calf, kind of pulling the leg forward. You could come to all fours first. And then you're going to spin that left heel down. So we're coming into warrior one here. So feet are about hip width distance on the width of the mat. Those left toes are turned in. And just make sure that your stance is long enough that your knee is stacked on top of your ankle. You're not kind of doing this type of thing and you're not so long that it's unstable. So from here, adding a bit of movement, taking the elbows wide, kind of a goalpost arm, and then we're straightening that right leg and drawing the forearms together. Inhaling, lunging into the knee, exhaling, straightening the knee, elbows come together. And taking that at your own pace, continuing to reinforce that left leg, left foot rather, connection to the mat. Opening up through the chest, feeling some mobility through the shoulder blades. And releasing to stillness. You may need to shorten your stance just a little bit for this next one. Taking the back of the hand and the forearm of that right hand to the low back. You could also take it to your hip if you prefer. We're going to lift the left arm. Turn the chest forward. Knees are relatively straight but not locked. And within your range of motion, keeping a very lengthened spine, we're hinging forward and maybe tapping those left fingertips down, maybe not, doesn't really matter. Just coming to your full range of motion. And then when you're ready to come back up, come back up. So taking that as slow as you'd like to. Your frontal hip points continue to turn forward, your core engages to keep the spine long, to find that hinge at the hip as you lower and lift. And just continuing to take this at your own pace. Feeling a stretch, hopefully through the back of the right leg. Continuing to feel that length and strength through the back, through the core. Slow and controlled movement, maybe taking that down one more time. And then bending into that right knee. And we'll step both feet back to downward facing dog, pedaling out the feet a little bit here. And this time we'll take that left foot forward. Spin the right heel down and make your way up to warrior one. Chest turns forward. Back foot plugs down. Bring the arms into the goalpost arms. And then as you exhale, straighten through the left knee. Bring the elbows and forearms, hands together. And inhale, open back up. Taking that at your own pace. Feeling that lift and opening through the chest. Feeling the mobility through the shoulder blades. Building strength in the legs. Taking that a few more times at your own pace. Moving with the breath, inhaling to open and exhaling, bringing forearms and hands together. And the next time the knees are straight, you can perhaps take your stance just a little bit closer together. Turn the chest and frontal hip points forward and take that left hand, left forearm to the low back. Reach the right arm up now. And then as you exhale, taking those right fingertips, tapping down and inhaling, lifting back up. Using the strength of the core to keep space through the torso and keep the spine lengthened. Frontal hip points continue to turn down as you hinge forward. Sometimes there's a tendency to kind of pour all the weight into that left side. See if you can keep it pretty even, shoulders pretty square. Working on balance, strength, and stability. And the next time you find yourself in that down position, you can take hands down to the mat. We're coming into plank position. On the knees or not, one final plank. Neck is long on all sides. Core is engaged. And we'll exhale, lower down to the mat. And inhale up for your cobra pose, rooting down actively through the pelvis, through the frontal hip points. And then exhale, lower back down. We'll do that same thing again, inhaling, lifting up, making sure the low back feels okay by rooting down through the pelvis, engaging the glutes. And then lifting the kneecaps, lifting the legs just ever so slightly up off of the mat. And we'll open the legs and then draw them back towards one another. Taking that a few more times, working adductors and abductors, working the glutes, the upper body, and releasing from that. You can rest there, or you could press back to child's pose. If you decide to press back to child's pose, you can take your left arm and reach it up towards the sky, and then exhale, thread it through, kind of thread the needle, child's pose. Rotating the right underarm down, getting a stretch through the left shoulder. If the forehead doesn't quite rest on the mat, you may choose to use a block or whatever else you have handy, maybe a pillow. And then inhale that left arm back up. Exhale, place it back down. Right arm reaches up and we'll thread it through, sinking back to child's pose. Otherwise, you can take an arm stretch from a seated position if you don't like this child's pose position. You could also stay in windshield wiper legs or come through to down dog. Finding what is right for you. That end part of the rain, nurturing. And inhale, right arm comes back up. Place the right hand down. And then perhaps for your transition, coming into downward facing dog for a few rounds of breath, pedaling out the feet. And then beginning to walk the feet up to the top of the mat. And we'll inhale for our halfway lift. And then exhale, fold everything in, let it go. Maybe take a deeper exhalation. And rooting through the feet to rise, coming all the way up to stand, reaching up here, and exhaling, coming back to center. I'm going to do a bit of work with balance. So we're going to start out with a dynamic balance. So you can, I'm trying to figure out which way to face. I think I'll face this way for now. So we're going to take the left knee up and the left arm up. And from here, we're going to, and you can have your right hand can be on something for support. And we're just going to hinge forward. Maybe you're tapping those left fingertips down, maybe you're not. It's a hinging at the hip. You can soften through that right standing knee as you hinge and lift. Each time coming with the knee back in line with the hip. Resetting yourself, and then coming back into it. Maybe another time or two. Definitely feel free to hold on to something for support with that right hand. And then from here, we are going to hug that left knee in towards the chest. Standing up nice and tall. Again, feel free to have that right hand holding on to something for support. Standing up nice and tall, and then cross that left ankle just on top of the right knee, and we'll sink back for a single leg chair pose. Hands could be at the heart, or they could be holding on to something. Flexing the left foot. Continuing to keep that bend in the standing knee. And then standing back up as you're ready. So from here, we'll take our right leg up, right hand up, and then hinging forward, coming into that dynamic balance. Right hand can tap down or not, it doesn't really matter. Left hand can hold on to something or rest at your hip or your side. And it's kind of similar to that movement before. We're finding that hinge at the hip, the core engagement. Core helps to keep the spine lengthened. Helps to pull you back up to standing. Feel free to keep as much softness. In fact, it's a lot easier to keep some softness in the standing knee. Taking that maybe a few more times, taking pauses anytime you need to. And then the next time you're up, you can hug that right knee in towards the chest, stand up nice and tall. If you'd like to take some ankle circles, you could. And then crossing right ankle just on top of left knee and sinking back into your chair pose. Hands could come to the heart. You could hold on to, like I have a wall next to me. Sometimes I just tap it every once in a while just to reestablish the balance. Maybe you've got a chair nearby. Taking a few breaths here, keeping the right foot active can sometimes help with the balance, flexing that foot. If you find that all of your weight is pouring into the pinky edge of the left foot, see if you can do a little bit just to reestablish that connection of right to left side of the foot, rooting down onto the mat. And then on the next inhalation, making your way back up to standing, we're going to take the legs so that the toes are angled out, heels are angled in a wider stance, inhaling the arms up and exhaling, sweeping the arms down. Knees will follow the toes, opening up through the inner thighs. Taking this as slowly or as quickly as you would like to. So we're stretching here through the inner thighs, but also as you stand up, you may feel the side glutes engaging a bit, strengthening. And the next time you're down, you can stay down, take those fingertips towards the inner knees, encourage the knees open, and let's rotate the right shoulder over towards the left knee, keeping both knees open, keeping the spine long, and then switching sides. And coming back through to center, pushing up through the feet, heel toeing the feet just a bit so that the heels are out now and the toes are in, and we'll hinge forward, coming into a wide-legged forward fold. Releasing the neck, releasing the jaw, perhaps taking the shaking of the head, yes and no, if that's helpful. And then inhale, lengthen to a flat back. Planting the left hand, we'll reach that right arm up towards the sky. Square the hips so the low back is still pretty even. You can take that right hand to the low back, or you could reach it up towards the ceiling. And here, thinking about pulling the crown of the head and the tailbone in opposite directions as you twist. Releasing down from that, and taking that left hand up towards the ceiling, reestablishing that length in the spine, squaring out the hips. The right hip will want to sink down. See if you can encourage it to be a little more even. Taking some breaths here. And then exhaling, coming back through to center and standing all the way back up. Turning the right toes so that you're in warrior two, heel to arch alignment. Arms can reach out. Stance is long enough so that you're not overextending and you're not underextending. So sometimes there's not much of a bend in the knee at all because the legs are too wide. So see if you can get to that place where the knee can stack on top of the ankle. Left pinky edge of the toe or of the foot roots down. And we'll inhale to reverse. Gaze can be up towards the ceiling, or it could be straight forward. And then we'll exhale to extend. That right forearm could come down, or you could take a hold of a block and place the right hand down on a block. Chest rotates open. And think about getting a little bit of space through the right side body. Sometimes people really collapse into that. See if you can lift up and out of the right side. And then back up to warrior two. Lengthen through that right leg, and we're just going to pivot the feet. So now the left toes are angled forward, heel to arch alignment. Arms can reach out. Nice long stance in our warrior two. It's typically a bit longer than warrior one because the hips are open rather than trying to turn forward. Invite a bit of ease into the shoulders. And inhale to reverse. Feel that stretch through the left side body without collapsing the right side body. And extended side angle. Again, you can take a block if you'd like to, or you can take the forearm to the leg, whichever best suits you. Continuing to lift up and out of the left side waist so we're not collapsing. And then coming back to warrior two one last time. Releasing the arms down. You can heel toe the feet back towards one another. We're going to make our way to a seated position down on the mat. If you have a strap, you may want to use it. We'll take the right leg out towards the right. You can take the strap and loop it around, sitting up nice and tall here, and then beginning to hinge forward. Coming forward in any amount, rotating the chest towards that right leg, keeping length in the spine, length in the neck. And inhale, come back up. We'll take the left hand behind us, right arm reaches up, and we'll inhale up. You can elevate the hips if you want to, or you can keep the hips planted. Either way is fine. Getting a stretch through the chest. And releasing down from that. Switching sides now, taking that left leg out towards the left. If you'd like to use your strap or belt or whatever you have, you can, we don't have to. We'll inhale up nice and tall, sticking with that theme of hinging at the hip, keeping the spine long and folding over the left leg. And maybe coming back to that rain technique that we've been working with, recognizing what's occurring here, noticing, allowing, investigating just a little deeper, and then nurturing whatever we happen to find. Now let's take that right hand behind us, lift up, lift the left arm up towards the sky, and then maybe elevate up off of the hips, getting a stretch through the whole front body and side body on that left side. If you want to take some ankle or some wrist circles, feel free. And releasing down from that. We're going to take a hold of our block if you have one. If you don't, it's not a big deal. You could grab a pillow or you could grab a book or something else you've got lying around. We're going to begin to come into boat pose. So we'll start by taking that block or whatever it is that you have and just giving it a little squeeze between the thighs and starting to lean back, finding that unsteady point where you have to engage the core in order to not fall back or fall to the side. Arms can reach out in front of you, chest can lift. You could elevate the legs if you want to. Continuing to squeeze the block a bit in order to engage the low abdominal muscles a little bit more, just to kind of connect with those. It starts to create strain anywhere in the back. Definitely place the heels back down or take the hands to the backs of the thighs. And releasing from that. Once again, if you'd like to take your strap, please feel free to do so, taking it around the feet. If you don't have a strap or don't want to use one, you don't have to. We'll begin to hinge again at the hips, just like our standing forward fold. Drawing the chest towards the thighs, keeping length in the neck and keeping some broadness through the chest, rather than totally collapsing into the upper body. Staying active here. If there's spaces that can let go, perhaps letting go of those spaces. For me, it's almost always the jaw. It's almost always the shoulders, but really a lot of it is in the jaw. So if there's any softening that can occur for you in areas that you typically hold tension, see if you can let go of any of that. We'll release the strap. We'll do one more boat variation. Heels can be planted or not. This time we're going to hold the block. You can hold it this way so that it's at kind of its long way. And then rotating to the right and the left, working the oblique muscles a little more, maybe even taking the block and tapping it down. Again, if you don't have one, it's not a big deal. It's just a kind of a focal point or a driver. Trying to stay steady as can be in the low body as you move the upper body. And releasing down from that. Here we'll take the soles of the feet together, knees can come nice and wide, sitting right on top of the sits bones, nice and tall. Hands can hold on to the feet. And please feel free to stay here, or please feel free to begin to round forward. So don't feel like you have to keep a straight spine here. You can kind of round forward. One of my teachers said at one point that it's like you're looking at a book and the soles of the feet are the book, and you're very curious about it and just looking a little bit closer. And then inhaling, rising all the way back up. You can take your block with you as we make our way down to the mat. So taking the left elbow towards the block, and then the block is going to be on the top of the left thigh, and then the hand can come behind the head. So it's a little bit awkward to get set up, but you just kind of lock that in, and this side is going to stay perfectly straight. And then this other side, we're going to take that right elbow towards the right knee and then extend and then draw them back together. So we're holding super steady on that left side and then extending through the right side. Low back stays steady. If at any point this is hurting the low back, you can remove the block, and you don't have to do it this way. It's just a way to kind of hold in the one side and work the other side. Now let's let go of that for a moment. Take a pause. And then we'll do the same thing with the opposite side. So right elbow comes to the block. The block is basically between the thigh and the elbow, and you're holding it in place. And then the hand can come to the back of the head. Then we're drawing left elbow to thigh or knee and extending. Extending and then drawing back together. Decrease or increase the range of motion to suit you. Taking that a few more times if that's okay for you. And then let's let go of that. Take both knees over towards the left. Right arm can reach towards the right, and we'll take a twist. Stretching out the back and the core, the chest. And coming back to center, and we'll take that in the opposite direction. Rotating the knees over towards the right, reach that left arm out towards the left. Maybe put a little pressure on the knees with the right hand. And then coming back to center. One more final stretch here, crossing the right. We're gonna cross the right ankle on top of the left knee. You can grab a hold of that right foot and the right knee and hug everything in. Get yourself set up here. Left knee is bent, but you're supporting or cradling that right leg with the right hand on the knee and the left hand on the ankle or the heel. And then the left knee can just provide a bit of an extra push in So you're supporting yourself on multiple sides. I like to do it this way. If you want to, you can grab a hold of the back of the left leg, but lately I've found this a little bit more effective. For me, might not be so for you. And then trying to flatten the shoulder blades, the back of the head. And if they're not, perhaps tuck a pillow or a block underneath the back of the head for a little more support so you're not creating strain in those spaces. If you want to rock a bit side to side, you can, or you can stay in stillness. Sometimes it feels nice to extend the left leg so you get a bit of a hamstring stretch on that opposite side. Continuing to make the practice your own. So if you want to add a bit of movement, rotate the ankle on that left side, you can. You can bend and lengthen if you like. And then let's release that side and we'll grab a hold of the left knee with the left hand. Right hand goes ahead and grabs the right heel or ankle and hugs that all in. So the leg is supported from a few different points of contact. The right knee can press into that left ankle or kind of the side of the leg. And then finding that connection to the mat, shoulder blades, back of the head, low back. Of course, acknowledging that the spine has natural curvature. So if there's parts of the back that are elevated up off of the mat, that's fine. Just that general sense of making contact with the mat. And then if you want to lengthen and bend a few times, you can. That right leg, you could take ankle circles. Do a little side to side rock. Exploring what might be right for you here. And then as you're ready, unraveling from all of that and coming into a resting position, maybe extending the legs long or taking a bend in the knees. And then just how we started out, checking in with ourselves, recognizing what's here, investigating a little deeper. Allowing and nurturing. And I have a little quote to share with you from Anthony DeMello. It is a sobering thought that the finest act of love you can perform is not an act of service, but an act of contemplation, of seeing. When you serve people, you help, support, comfort, alleviate pain. When you see them in their inner beauty and goodness, you transform and create. I'd like to thank you all so very much for sharing your practice and your positive energy with each other and with me. Namaste.